We often hear the phrase customer-centric because it sounds and feels right. However, when you look closely, many teams still build based on assumptions, internal pressure, or feature requests that rather than real customer progress. Today, I'm joined by Mircea Serediuc, Chief Product Officer at Narrio. His background includes engineering, delivery, product strategy, and now leading a SaaS company built to help sales teams prove value faster. Today, I want to understand what customer centricity truly means in practice and how it influences product development, go to marketing strategies, and growth as a whole. So, if you're curious, as I am, I hope you'll enjoy this episode and don't forget to share it with your friends. Mircea, thanks for saying yes to my invitation. You started as a developer and moved into product and strategy. What changed into how you see customers?
When I was developer, I wasn't seeing customers.
That's actually a good start. And
The
how do
funny
customers
thing
look
is,
like?
yeah, the funny thing is when I moved into management, that was one of the questions that I asked developers if they know who is paying for their salaries.
Mhm.
And most of the time, there is a very big disconnect between I just doing this line of code, I'm doing my job, I don't care more than that.
Mhm.
And with this mindset, some of these people hear that when you're building a startup, you can become the next Facebook or the next whatever platform that it will have an IPO and all that, all those nice stories.
Mhm.
And they go and build startups. And those startups, like they are just products, not even products, piles of features.
Mhm.
And you live with the delusion that if you build it, they will come.
Mhm.
So you'll build it and you put some ads on Facebook or whatever platform, and you expect people to see, oh, I was searching for this new platform. Oh,
Among
and I asked,
other million platforms.
yeah. And I always ask people because I do the mentoring part in different hackathons, and I ask, who is your competitor? And most of the time they say, I don't have any competitors, and with the confidence that it's
Mm.
shocking. But at the same time, I was there. I can't blame them 100%. It's part of the being mature in this field of work, let's say.
Mhm.
So, going back to the idea of customer centricity, when I started to do product for good, for real, I was the same guy who was like listening to stakeholders telling me what to do. Some of them, they were panicked and they wanted to feel relevant. So
Mhm.
they gave tasks and specific features and filters and stuff like that. And I was young and naive and I wouldn't ask questions. More I asked about what color should it be, or but it
Mhm.
was the more soft reasoning, and it wasn't related with the KPIs of the product, North Star metric, these, let's call it, big words that we have now in the startup world and product world. And I was like more an obedient hire than someone who had more questions and trying to understand. I was more into pleasing. So because of that, the customer was the responsibility of the stakeholders, like the CEO or the sales head of sales, marketing, people who are not like part of. I was the product manager. I needed to get specifications right to translate them from business to technical. The technical team has to deliver them as soon as possible, and I was like more of a project manager instead of a product manager. But I
Mhm.
had the product manager name next to my name, and I was proud of that. And when people started to ask me what you're doing, I was a project manager disguised, like, Scooby-Doo, look who he
Mhm.
is. This kind of
That's
story.
me.
So yeah,
Okay.
so in the beginning, plus we don't have this understanding of building products. We
Mhm.
are in Eastern Europe. we are a very obedient market. We are not challengers. We accept what is coming to us and we say, okay, we're going to make it better. And we can't lie. In Romania, the industry of outsourcing flourished. So because
Mm-hmm.
of that, what we did, we go outside to people who know business, who know sales, marketing, all these disciplines that are not in our responsibility. We are very good implementers.
Mm-hmm.
So someone needs to go and talk with someone from Ireland, understand the dashboard, translate it into
Mm-hmm.
a product, make it perfectly. Because,
Mm-hmm.
like in Romania, no one outsources products before product market fit. Always products that are like really established in a market, they have demand. When I heard first the idea of demand, it was crazy. So you already have demand. People get the information from those stakeholders. You implement it, you deliver it perfectly. The feature had to work perfectly, and you ship it. So that's not product; it's project management. And it's funny when I get
Mm-hmm.
invited for interviews to figure out like if you want to get hired in a product manager role, and I say no, this is project management, I'm sorry, this is not product. No, but we need someone to think customer centric. Yeah, you need someone
Mm-hmm.
to think, but he will be paid to
To
execute.
just act or react. Yeah.
Yes.
Was there a moment when you realized building features, it's not the same as building value?
Yeah, when the needle is not moving.
Mhm. Okay. That's a
Because
painful lesson.
uh, when your job is tied with the revenue, you're not building for the sake of building.
Hmm.
Like, the biggest validation of all is the money of a client or an investor. But at the same time, if the client is not paying you for the things that you're delivering, it's nonsense. So that was probably the first moment when I realized, because I was working in a startup and that startup was a marketplace. And in a marketplace, you have the two parts of the same coin, the demand and the supply. And because the supply it's easier to get, you can be fooled that if you optimize the platform for the supply, the demand will come. And it's kind of a same idea with building features,
Yeah,
because
it's the
even though
sinking ship.
yes, and we were like developing in 4 months, we reviewed the onboarding for the supply 4 times. And it was madness. Like for me, it was like,
Hmm.
why we are doing this
Hmm.
again? And the answer was, we have so many people who are getting into the onboarding and they are not finishing the onboarding, so we need to optimize it. Yeah,
Hmm.
but they are not paying.
Hmm.
And that was
Okay.
the moment, because like I was working in a funded startup. It was very nice. We had a ton of money. We needed to make this marketplace happen and work. And it was challenging to figure out like what we are doing now. We are still keeping and trying to optimize the platform for the supply, even though the supply is not bringing us any money, instead of making a better platform for what the demand is requesting. So for me,
Hmm.
I had to swallow that bad pill
Hmm.
and try to understand that demand is the most important part of the story. Plus, I at that period of time, I figure out it get into my hands, Demand Side Sailings from Bob Moesta. Probably
Hmm.
the best book. Like for me, it's one of the Bibles that I have in product, even though it's a sales book. Um, and in that book, he is talking about understanding what people are struggling with. So customer centricity, it's about helping other people. It's not about you. You're just there to facilitate that progress, and you're going to be paid for that progress. So those people care about that progress. Yes, no. Is the progress painful enough for making them change, and so on. So all these questions we had to ask. We figured out that we are building something that it's not useful, and in 2 months we wiped out half of the application with the features, because we figured out like
Okay.
we're losing a lot of money in customer support, we're losing a lot
Mm-hmm.
of money with the supply, that it wasn't happy with the things that we're receiving in the platform. We were having a lot of demand, but demand on free trial that
Mm-hmm.
wasn't paying, but they got the benefits. So instead of just keeping that part that we thought that it's bringing us a lot of activity in the platform, we just wipe it out in 1 month, more than 1 year of work, no remorse, just push it forward. We need to make money.
Mm-hmm.
So that was probably the first moment when we figured it out. I saw the pain, but I couldn't articulate it because I wasn't mature enough. Same thing happens when you have gut feelings, but you can't put the finger on it. So that was probably one of the most touching moments in my product career, because seeing how a platform can be wiped out in half, and you remain with one essential thing that it's really making money, it's a very, how to say, visceral experience, because there is a lot of emotional baggage in those features, and
Yeah.
it's kind of hard to kill
Let
your
it go.
babies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, let it go. Yeah,
Yeah.
Frozen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yeah, that's the feeling, and it was quite a hard moment, but at the same time, it was very liberating.
It was necessary. So,
Yes.
in your experience, what does it actually look like, customer centric, inside a product team? So, for you at that moment, how was it? It's
I
like,
think
did
it,
you
it
did research, customer research, and said, okay, let's wipe it out. People want something else.
you look into the data. The data
Mm-hmm.
is not lying. You look into the customer support tickets, and you figure out that more than 40% of the tickets are generated by free trial users. So you should stop free trialing, or reduce it, or don't offer customer support because you're losing resources there. Another area that we looked into, it was usage of the platform, and the amount of uh, bug fixes we were doing on those features. Um, we looked into many aspects of this kind, because one of the biggest challenges is to align all the stakeholders to understand that you need to do that. Mostly the owner, because he has to make peace with himself that he was wrong, and it's normal. So that's one of the things that, for me, it resonated, to say like this.
Mm-hmm. And
The other
customer
thing that,
centric inside a product team, it's nowhere near something nice, and it has its moment of, oh, I have to.
no, it's really important to ask yourself what's the struggle, and to connect it with real life processes. Like, I can give you one example from Solo, because it was like that was probably the best place where you can learn about customer centricity, because like all the team was built like that. Bogdan Georgescu, the investor in Solo, was deeply embedded in the idea of customer centricity. He built previously Bookster, so another product that it's like 100% customer centric. And working with him on some features, which was inspiring. And he was always asking, okay, why we are doing this. I was creating I redo the onboarding, and he started to ask me questions from every step. What's the 80% of the user who are going through this flow? will take what decision, and let's optimize for 80%, and 20% you can leave them outside. But 80%, you make the life of 80% of the users who are going through this onboarding flow seamless. And that was one of the places at Solo, was one of the places where I learned that you have to disappoint people. Not everyone is your client, and you need to accept that. And that's another angle that most of founders and product people forget, that you're not for everyone, even though they are willing to give you money. And it's quite hard to create this line in the sand without data. Like in the beginning, you'll just create a very open positioning, open platform, open to listen, implement features, and so on. But I was discussing with someone who is doing customer support, and I asked her, like, when is the moment when you fire a client? Because he is taking a lot of resources, he has so many expectations, like these kind of elements that are like important in a business for customer centricity. And I know that I'm going places with ideas that I have, but it's really important to understand that customer centricity is not about pleasing the client. It's about finding a group of people that are informed by a job they have to do, and to solve that job, not based on filmographics like the location, the age, the classic personas that you find in marketing. Those are not 100% important. It's important for you as a business to understand what job you want to fix in someone's life, and to find as many people as possible. Because at Solo we had food couriers, drivers, lawyers, IT people,
Mm-hmm.
girls from OnlyFans, like different
Mm-hmm. Personas.
personas.
Yeah.
But at the same time, what you could do is establish a self-employed form, do
Mm-hmm.
accounting, deploy documents at ANAF and ONRC.
Mm-hmm.
And for
These were the
all of,
jobs they would pay
yes,
for, yeah, to be solved.
yes,
Mm-hmm.
yes, and that's the thing that you can do.
Mm-hmm.
And it's streamlined, and it's easy, and it's straightforward.
Mm-hmm.
Some lawyers wanted features for because they are lazy and they don't want to go through the pains of making photos at receipts and upload them into
Documents,
the
yeah.
platform. They didn't
Mm-hmm.
want to do that, so they wanted the concierge service to send all the bags with those receipts, and we can do it for them.
Mm-hmm.
Are we willing to do that? Is it enough demand?
Mm-hmm.
The cost of implementing that and having people specialized to make photos, is it worth it? Yes or no? So
Mm-hmm.
customer centricity, it's about finding a specific niche of people that
Mm-hmm.
are struggling at the moment. It's really important to have people who are like struggling and willing to do that, because one of the things, I'm a geek, an engineer geek, and I tried to make an equation of
Okay.
struggle, because
Mm-hmm.
like in jobs to be done, I had the opportunity to talk with Bob Moesta, and I told him the equation that I made, and he started to laugh. So it was a very nice moment to meet my teacher and tell him that I geeked around his theory. But it's like this: people don't buy products, they
Mm-hmm.
hire them to do progress in a struggling moment.
Mm-hmm.
What's a struggling moment? And a struggling moment, it's, I try to understand like what defines a struggling moment. And it's a pain that has frequency, and you have awareness that you're losing something. So most of the time people don't buy because you bring them so much return of investment, but because you're framing them the cost of inaction.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not moving now, you're going to pay later. That's
Mm-hmm.
how people who are selling insurance are converting.
Mm-hmm. Or cybersecurity. Yeah.
Yes, that's the idea.
Mm-hmm.
So in order to
It's one
have,
way.
yeah, in order to have the idea of struggle, you need to have a pain,
Mm-hmm.
you need to have frequency, because if you don't have frequency, the pain will not grow, and you need to have this cost of inaction, to say like this, to be aware
Mm-hmm.
that you're going to lose something.
Mm-hmm.
So based on that, you start to look at what are the problems those people have, and it's messy.
How do you structure it? So one part of the research is okay, finding all the data, looking into chats or internal chats or client tickets, or even going external from your company into communities, Quora and other places like that, product reviews. How do you go from there? In jobs to be done, okay, you have that framework. We discussed about how you're doing things right now, so I think it's important to share.
Yeah, it's messy,
Mm-hmm.
because you have two other elements that are like making you take bad decisions. It's pressure.
Mm-hmm.
Now with the age of AI, you need to take decisions yesterday. Now try in this podcast, we wouldn't be here, we should be working and taking decisions for our business, and
Yeah.
now we are talking to each other to do this podcast that probably my kids will see in 10 years. And yeah, like, because you have this time pressure,
Mm-hmm.
and no one has time for deep research and deep analysis, we externalize it to LLMs, and these deep research modes of going into the internet, figure out the problems, ranking them, figure out in how many places you find it. Like, you can do a lot of this. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm guilty of it, because when we started Narrio 1 year ago, it was a platform for content. Now we are doing sales, and we are mostly going into the sales operations, and we are helping sales team reduce the sales cycle. We are like, one of the pilots that we are doing, it's reducing it in half, and we want to prove
Mm-hmm.
that, because we give them insights into the deals and pipelines and everything. But we got here through a road that sounds like Alice in the Wonderland. We started to do LinkedIn content. We figured out that
Mm-hmm.
people weren't paying for LinkedIn content because they can do it with ChatGPT. Then we went into the B2B area, because we saw the trend of employee advocacy. In employee advocacy, we figured out that people weren't writing, they were paying ghostwriters, and we changed the product in another direction. Because we were doing content, we went into content, sales content, long form sales content, white papers, case studies, and we figured out that people weren't struggling with this. But we got, people were curious, like, every time people were curious by other features that we weren't talking about.
Okay.
And we got to a place where we figured out, like, people have big problems in sales. Most of
Mm-hmm.
them hate to update the CRM. They have challenges with gathering the data, because it's in WhatsApp. Like, the new CRM of our age is WhatsApp. I don't know if you do that, but in customer, like, most of the pilots with Narrio, I talk them on WhatsApp.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
That
unfortunately,
information,
HubSpot is last year. Yeah.
yes, and I can't take that data to WhatsApp, to
Mm-hmm.
HubSpot. Sorry. So that's a very big opportunity of selecting the text, send it to Narrio, and it will
Mm-hmm.
be updated, and I will have all the information there. And after that, we're gonna feed it into HubSpot to have one source of truth.
Mm-hmm.
So what we did, we started to look at patterns, and we started to listen to those people who are like complaining about what's hard to do in their life.
Mm-hmm.
And you find this pretty unfortunate. For every startup, the biggest competitor of all, it's habituation.
Mm-hmm.
I get used with the Excel. I get used with HubSpot not being filled with data. I get used to that. There are other problems who are like uh, the cost of inaction there. It's bigger than here. So basically, what I figure out is sales is making these people aware that the cost of inaction of bad data, it's making them more miserable in the long term. So it was very eye-opening for us to understand like what's the bigger problem of all. Because in our day and age, you can download all the data from Fathom, you download it from HubSpot, you get some data from WhatsApp, you put it into ChatGPT, summarize this, tell me that, I will get it. But at the same time, you can do that for one person. Or you can vibe code, the cloud code, something, and you can do it. But when you have to scale, these things that are like, you have security problems, you can't scale, you can't look across the pipeline, like all these small issues that people are not aware, and people are like comparing us. But at the same time, we found out people who are like willing to pay and are like telling us that's a very nice problem to solve, but we have this problem that it's bigger than that.
Okay.
Now we are listening,
Mm-hmm.
because most of the time having a product like I don't know if you know Matt Lerner, but
Mm-hmm.
this is this guy who made history in PayPal in the B2B space, and now he is like a consultant, and he wrote a very good book, Growth Lever, for people who are listening. Very good book to read. And he released a very good guideline how to do experiments for in startups to validate. And I took that list, and one of the elements in that list, it was doing this kind of podcasts with people just to understand their context, even though the podcast it's for sake of the podcast, but you pick their brain.
Mm-hmm.
And it was quite interesting to figure out that this is a way of making it more important, even though you just go and talk with them in a very personal way. So going back with deep research and uh, Quora and Reddit and all these platforms where you can go and ask for stuff, it will give you some breadcrumbs. But at the same time, is not telling you the only thing that AI at the moment can't optimize for. It's gut feeling decisions. And probably that's the only thing that will not be uh, automatized, because from my point of view, what I truly believe is that customer centricity, it's about selling the emotion of that feature. It's not
Mm-hmm.
about like, that was probably one of the most eye-opening moments for me when I realized that people are buying emotions that are generated by a feature, not the
Mm-hmm.
feature itself.
Mm-hmm. And even
I'm
in
buying
B2B, yeah.
even in B2B, because in B2B, one of
Mm-hmm.
the trickiest questions that people don't ask is, what's your stake? Like, I dig into stories. I love stories. I dig into the story of Salesforce and how they grew. And one of the most important questions they asked VP of sales was how how your career should look like in 3 years from now, when you finish your tenure here and you're going to the next company, because you need to optimize for that. You need to optimize for the success of that VP, of that CEO, of that manager, like optimize for the personal reasons. I want to be remembered that I improved the sales process. I want to be remembered that I closed the most B2B deals. I want to be remembered for X. Okay, with that thing in mind, wherever I will frame the next features I will build, you will feel that it's created for you. It's not by me. It's not my feature. I will not take the pride for it. Like, one of the most funniest things, it happened in a demo. It was with someone that I showed the early versions of Narrio, and he told me, dude, I feel that I'm like an 8th grader talking with an university professor. You're highly experienced in the industry that you're talking about, and you build this product, but you made it so complicated and with so much details. I know that you want to prove that you're smart, but in this case, you're making me feel dumb. No one wants that.
That's invaluable feedback. Yeah.
A wake-up call. We started to cut labels and dashboards and try to make it simple as possible and give just enough information.
And always don't overwhelm, and always show, don't tell, because
Yes.
it will work better. Yeah, we all learned the lessons along the way. After working with startups over the years, what do you feel it separates the teams that truly build around customer progress from those that just say they do? Because there are a lot.
The ones they say they do, they are not anymore in the market.
Okay. But they are founded, like they have some series or something. And they
Sure, they
say,
had some friends who helped them raise some rounds. But at the same time, I don't believe that someone can, like, your product should be so revolutionary to not care about how people are using it. Either you're a genius, and most people will quote now Steve Jobs.
oh,
Because he
okay.
said, like, if I will ask people what they want, they will tell me different stuff that I built. But if you go back, and for me, like, it gives me shivers. I remember the launch of iPhone in 2008, and he presented the iPhone in three jobs to be done, three different jobs to be done: an internet device, a cell phone, and an iPod. People knew what was an iPod, a device where you can listen. It has have a big screen. Then an internet connection device. They had their computers and their laptops, and a phone that you can call people, you can give messages. And one of the things that I believe that it lasted until the last version of, like, until iOS 25. So 25 versions of iOS, one thing it remained as legacy for Steve Jobs, and it was a thing that most of people ignored it because in Romania we had it in a very different way. It was the voicemail. If you look down in the menu, in the contacts, it was last calls, voicemail, contacts, and something else. And in the version 26 now, they removed it. But that was probably one of the first features where they win a lot, because try to imagine 2008, most of the people were sending voicemails. And one of the most frustrating things in voicemails, you couldn't scrub. You can't figure out that feature without listening to clients. You can't. Even though you're the most brilliant person in a room, you can't figure out that without understanding people and how they struggle and what's important for them.
Yep, indeed.
And the other thing, I was in a pitching meeting with a VC, and the VC challenged us and told us, like, yeah, one of the biggest problems that you have is the fact that you're asking too much the clients, because you know that that's that quote of Henry Ford, who said that if I asked people, they told me they wanted faster horses. That's the biggest bullshit in product history, because Henry Ford didn't say that. First things first. Like, if you Google it, and I recommend whoever is looking, Google it. It appeared in 2020. No, in in the 2000s. And it appeared from someone quoting him, but that's not true. He didn't say that. Because if we are going back, he created very expensive cars for people who could afford them. No one could afford, like, people who had horses who couldn't afford a car. If they wanted to go faster, they took the train. So it's, in the product world, you have these people who are like trying to explain that I know what I know, and I can build a product without asking anyone because I'm so good. Who is helping that? Like, even for us, like my co-founder, Alice, it's the subject matter expert. She did enterprise sales for 10 years. She was in procurement. She has the background. She understands these structures way better than me. But at the same time, she's not delusional and ask questions and go into meetings and trying to understand what's happening, because you can't have all the answers. Customer centricity, it's having this humility and saying, I don't know everything, and I'm willing to grind and ask people and put uncomfortable questions to get to a very specific place. Like, that's one of the things that it's really, really important for us as builders to have this humility of not being stupid, but
Curious.
being humble enough to say that we don't know. And I know that it's in one of our genes. I don't know his genes, but it's cultural. In Central Eastern Europe, you had only one job: learn your lesson, say your lesson, don't ask for questions, don't ask for help. And
Don't
now
look
in
stupid.
product, yes, now in product, the switch is flipped. You have to ask others. You don't need to take your personal assumptions. You're most valuable if you use yourself as a filter, because the people you ask, this is another thing that it's like, it should be written on walls. Customers, they only know their past. Customers don't know what's possible. So you don't need to take product decisions based on customer requests. You just need to understand what they are struggling with, and you as an innovator tailor the future.
How should product, operations, marketing, sales, and other departments work together when building for complex B2B buyers?
Hard to give you the answer because I wasn't in that complex context. Most of the time, I'm the marketing, I'm the sales, I'm the product, I'm the... in the startup that I'm building, I'm sharing the same responsibility as Alice, and we don't have the people who can delegate to.
But you've seen the struggle. You've done your research. You've done the job to be done part of research into what you're solving with Narrio. How do you see the trenches, the other part?
I think that because we have to prove our value, we will try to be heard in a conversation. Because I try to prove my point, like there is this line in a family of 5, the kid who is not starving is the one who is shouting the hardest.
Mm-hmm. The most, yeah.
Because of that, sales is shouting at product because he wants that feature, because if he doesn't have that feature, he can't close. He shouts
Mm-hmm.
at marketing because he doesn't have qualified leads, and his marketing qualified leads are not good enough, so he can't do his job. But at the same time, sales is perfect. And at the same time, product says, yeah, we are building these features and you have to prioritize because last week you told me that, and now we changed the roadmap and we lost resources because we lost velocity, and marketing comes and says, yeah, but we are targeting the person you told us, and we are telling the features that you told us, and we are looking to the values. One thing that I learned the hard way, the same way, is the fact that we gathered here for the greater good of the product that is helping our clients, not for our best interests. And this is a lesson that I
Mm-hmm.
have to remember myself all the time, because uh, there is that word, if your mother didn't give you enough attention in childhood, you're gonna seek it until you'll die. So because of that, like, one of the things that I'm saying, like, this is a reality, and hopefully mom will not listen to this, but it's something that it's in our DNA. We want to get attention, we want to be seen, we want to be validated, we want to belong, we want to be authentic, we want everything. But at the same time, that is getting in our way of building useful products. Because if you have you have your secret agenda, as I said in the previous answers. If you have your secret agenda, that your desired emotions are the things that are like making you, because we are all emotional creatures. That's what's the difference between other this is what defines us, and our decisions, besides logic, it's emotional. Because of that, we try to change it's quite hard for me to generate a cohesive answer to this question, because it's a people problem, it's an emotional problem. And one thing that I learned in my career, and I'm striving to do, is ask myself, do I want to prove my point or save the relationship? And sometimes you have to prove yourself to be in a safe place, but sometimes you need to keep the relationship. And when things get emotional, it's better to back off and save the relationship and come back with a better thesis, instead of trying to prove at that moment that you are right and get harshed after that meeting. Because I don't believe that is someone 100% right in a product context. There are so many
Mm-hmm.
shades of gray, it's hard to
Mm-hmm.
explain. That's
Yeah,
why
but I
I've
feel
written a
if
book
you, yeah,
about it.
yeah, and not only, um, I think you yeah, summarize it very well. You have to speak up. You have to build with the others. You don't have to be on your own. You have to protect the relationship you have. Not It's not always about the proving a point. And if you start and if you have as a North Star that you're trying to solve a client's problem, not your problem, or proving your point, I feel it can work a bit. And yeah,
Yes, and
each of
another
us can
thing,
optimize.
yeah, another thing that it was eye-opening. Researching, like one of the things that I'm researching now, it's what are the first use cases of big products, because like every big product once it was small, and I'm trying to
What a
figure out,
surprise.
like, yeah. HubSpot wasn't so like
HubSpot.
today. Yeah, so HubSpot like today. Um, so because of that, I tried to figure out like how they started and what was the first use case and how they position it, because that's the challenge that we have now with Narrio. And one of the things that I figured out is the fact that they all have the same idea of me having the problem in the first place in some shape or form I struggled with, and I wanted to help other people. It's really important for you to to have that relatedness. For me, it was quite hard because I had to borrow the relatedness from the clients that I'm working with, to borrow it from my colleagues, trying to understand the context better and trying to ask questions. And if I wrote an article, because I do a lot of inbound, and it was off context, to have the humility to get feedback and to adjust and to edit and to remove stuff. So that's probably one of the things that it's really important. If you had the problem and it's not an imaginary problem, that's another thing. I have this joke that in Romania we blame the AI for hallucinating, but we almost put someone as a president. So yeah, we had that thing. Um, because AI hallucinates a lot, it's quite hard for us to figure out what's true or not. So you need to filter it, and you need to filter it through emotions, not through reasoning, because sounds right. Like most of the time, the answers from LLMs, if you prompt them enough, sound right, like legit, how we say it. But if you start to scrutinize them, or another thing that I was really afraid of AI, and now I'm like, I let him, is to give me feedback. I had this fear of I'm a perfectionist, and because of that, I'm scared of asking for feedback. And when I got feedback from AI, I tried to him to impersonate the roles that I'm trying to discuss with, to figure out how they are like like how they are seeing this. And it was shocking at first. I had a small internal drama, because when I was on ChatGPT, he was very agreeable and happy and giving me all the praises and clap for me. And I moved to Claude and he told me this is garbage. And I was like, I'm going back to ChatGPT. You're not
You're
talking
not
like
my
that with
friend.
me. Yeah, I'm paying you.
Yeah.
Yes. So yeah, but I'm still Claude fan. ChatGPT, it's no. So because of that, I started to get feedback and to try to reason it. And in the end, try to get as much options from the AI, but I'm the filter of the last things that are like resonating. And that's another thing, because now it's a how it's called, it's an explosion of products. It's easier to do a landing page, it's easier to generate the text on the landing page, it's easier to do whatever, but it's just the surface. And in the things that I'm testing now is going deeper, going into the essence, going into words that trigger emotions instead of just the perfect, reasonable, legit value proposition.
Very well said. To wrap up our discussion, because it can be like a full day.
Joe
If you had
Rogan
to
style.
give, yeah, exactly. If you had to give one piece of advice, you cannot. You can also say no. I don't want to give advice. Use AI for that. To others who want to build customer-centric growth, what would be that piece of advice?
First things first, read Bob Moesta. If you didn't got his books, grab them.
I
Uh,
agree.
Search for podcasts where he was invited. in Launchpod. I had a very awesome discussion with him. I felt like having a proper jobs to be done geek to geek discussion. It was extraordinary. Um, and if you get into his work, like he has interviews unpacking vague words and this kind of stuff that it's like really important for you to understand. But another thing that is immensely important from my point of view is to care. Like, if you don't care enough about those people's struggle, don't do it. Like, that's if you're doing it for the money, it's not the right reason. You can do money easily instead of building tech products, because now it's easy to copy, it's easy to find cheaper versions made by Indians than your product, and you will struggle so much in a market that it will be painful. So that's the most important part. You need to care.
Yeah, and I feel it's a good closure. So we talk about and we talk a lot about customer centricity, and in reality, it's not just a belief; it's a discipline. It shows up in how you run discovery, how you interpret the data, and in how customer feedback actually makes it into your roadmap. The teams that grow sustainably aren't just listening to customers, they've built systems, just like Mircea mentioned today, that turn insights into decisions and decisions into product value, into what people would pay for. So maybe the takeaway from today is customer insight without structure doesn't drive growth. And if you're truly building around customer progress, that progress should be visible in the product itself. Mircea, thank you so much for the clarity and depth you brought to the conversation, and hope to see you around and what you're building.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. See you in the next episode of Frontline Insights. Bye
Bye.
bye.